There is perhaps no form of upcycling more beloved than the gentle art of turning a blanket into a coat. I have this vintage comforter I bought a while back when I was going through a cottagecore phase. Don't laugh, we all went through it. And it's super sweet with yellow flowers and such, and of course mysterious yellow stains I didn't notice when I originally thrifted it. I also have one of those pink fuzzy blankets, if you're a 90s kid you know, that's actual wool, but it has insect holes throughout it. As it's currently below 75 degrees outside and I therefore want to spend my day swaddled in a blankie, this is the perfect project for right now. At this point, y'all may be expecting me to pop in and point out that the chasubles and capes of the medieval period were sort of the start of people dressing in a blankety way, which maybe. But what I'm really obsessed with is the duvet coat from the 1999 Martin Margiela runway show. This was an actual upcycle duvet. It still had the Featherlight tag in the corner that Martin Margiela essentially cut 2 holes in, put 2 sleeves on, and then wrapped around a person. So when it was rocking down the runway, it really did look like a duvet just wrapped around a person. To me, the coolest part is that it actually had duvet covers, so you could change up your look by putting a duvet cover on your duvet coat. So cool. I think that a lot of designers have kind of referenced this idea through the years. Maybe related, maybe unrelated. I feel like my social media feed at this point is like 50% people turning blankets into coats. So I've come up with a few ideas that I want to try out. I wanted the comforter to really look like a comforter, so I tried draping it on a dress form to see how I could manipulate it. But this technique was always going to look like the Margiela coat, and while I absolutely owned that influence, I didn't want to just copy the thing. So I've had a rummage through my vintage pattern collection, which is what I tend to do when things that I am trying out don't work out. Anyway, I've come up with these 2 patterns. These are both vintage robes. Get it? Blanket, robe, sort of the same storyline. Anyway, I feel like this one is kind of vibing with the comforter. Something about the vintage flowers there, vintage flowers here. But rather than a set-in sleeve like this one has, I want to try to cut it, I think, as one piece with the shoulder like being the fold line, just to kind of get that like all-in-one blanket feel. We'll experiment with that one. This one, I'm thinking for the pink fuzzy blanket that I have, but the pink fuzzy blanket is definitely a lot thicker than whatever fantasy fabric this is that the illustrator was envisioning, so I don't think it will be quite this drapey. I think it'll be a lot more structured, thicker, chunkier. Could be interesting. So yeah, I think that these are the 2 ideas that we're gonna go with. This project was just too big for my table, so floor project it was. I marked the exact center of the comforter and used the pattern to draw out a neckline. And side seams. I marked the sleeve to use as much of the pre-hemmed edges as possible. This angle is giving you 0 information. Just know the final cutting layout looked like this. I left the underarm rounded to ease movement, kind of like a built-in gusset. I cut the resulting rectangles from the 4 corners. And this happily got rid of most of the staining. I have to say, working with this comforter was what I'd imagine working with marshmallow would be like. The piece actually looked pretty cool and very blankety just like that, but probably would have been a pain to actually wear, so I folded the back to the front along the shoulder line, right sides together. I unpicked the top stitching that holds the batting in place where it crossed the new seam lines, and pinned only the outer layer together. I held the inner layer and the batting out of the way and stitched the outer layer of self. I trimmed the batting from the seam allowance. Probably should have done that before sewing the outer layer. I'm sure there was a way to sew this on the machine, but y'all know I love my hand stitching, so I turned the seam allowance of the inner layer of cotton to the wrong side and hand stitched using a whip stitch. The batting on the inside should stay in place since I left all the top stitching intact for the most part. I stitched the sleeve to just past the rounded underarm, but left the body side seams open to mimic a blanket. I finished the edges of the open sides by folding the seam allowance of the outer and inner cotton layers to the wrong side and ladder stitching them together. I used the same technique to finish the center front edges. Okay, this lighting was just ridiculous. Oops. But anyway, I cut the collar piece and matched it to the neckline. I stitched the outer layer on the machine and whip-stitched the underside layer of the collar by hand. I finished the outer edge of the collar as I had finished all the other edges. I had left a little slit open at the center front neckline, and I inserted these blue cotton ties, similarly to what's happening in the pattern illustration. Onto the pink coat. As you can see, the fabric was hopelessly warped, otherwise I would have used the selvage for my center front. I did use the, I think, iconic pink satin-bound edge for the bottom of the coat. And then I realized this was one of those partially cut out, not really cut out patterns. The blanket was not nearly big enough for the pattern, but I had this much smaller, much lighter pink wool blanket, so I cut the back panel as a contrasting panel. I feel like there should be choral music to go with this lighting. If the comforter was like working with marshmallow, the pink blanket was like working with chewing gum. I marked the darts at the bust and back shoulder and basted them in place. I then stitched them on the machine. For what it was worth, which was not much, I pressed the chunk of dart using a lot of steam. This fabric was seriously chunky, so after experimenting with a few facing options and different ways of finishing the edges, I decided to go rogue. I wasn't afraid of the edges fraying, but they did have these annoying white bits sticking out, which are actually the wool warp threads. Maybe I'm just a nerd, but I love taking fabric apart to see how it's made. This blanket was made with white, tightly spun wool warps and pink, loosely spun wefts in a basic weave. It was then likely brushed to get the fuzz effect. I unpicked the satin binding at the hem of center front for about 3/4 of an inch and cut away the seam allowance from the center front edge. I removed a weft or two, just enough to get rid of the visible white bits. One day I'll invest in a nice, likely more aesthetic felting block, but for this project I used one of these beauties from Clover. I felted the edge of the fabric to fuse the fuzzy pink wefts together. I did this from the wrong side because the needles pushed the fiber to the opposite side, so the right side ended up nice and fuzzy. The only fear I have with this edge is that it may warp over time like the edge of the blanket did, but we shall have to wait and see. I proactively did the same treatment to what will be the outer edge of the collar. I laid the front panels of the coat against the back panels, right sides together. I stitched the side and shoulder seams on the machine. As before, I was not worried about fraying, so I simply pressed the seams open and felled each side down. If you're wondering how that worked out for me with the chunky darts, not well. I mean, fine, but just not pretty. Oh well. I constructed the sleeves in the same way. At the hems of the sleeve and the body, I folded the seam allowance of the satin binding to the inside and whip stitched the seam closed by hand. Using my machine's longest stitch length, I stitched 2 rows of basting along the sleeve caps at 1/4 inch and 3/8 of an inch. I gently tugged on the bobbin threads to form the sleeve caps. This was really satisfying. This fabric loved to take shape. Kind of like bubblegum. I inserted the right side out sleeves into the inside out armholes, matched all the seams and notches, and adjusted the cap ease. Funnily enough, after spending years making mutton chop sleeves and gigot sleeves, a straightforward set-in sleeve was ambrosial. I stitched the sleeve in place. Very biological looking angle. I felled both sides of the seam allowance towards the sleeve, since if I opened the seam allowance and felled each side as I did with the body, the sleeve cap would likely appear rounded. I matched the collar to the neckline of the coat, top side of collar to wrong side of coat, so when flipped, everything would look clean. I trimmed most of the seam allowance from the collar seam and trimmed all the seam allowance from the bottom of the collar notch. Since the collar seam will technically be on the outside of the coat, I covered it with a grosgrain ribbon, or 2 grosgrain ribbon scraps that kissed in the middle and serendipitously mirror the contrasting coat panels. I kept the belt simple, just a 2-inch wide strip of the wool cut along the warp for strength and felted at the edges. Turns out the sleeves were too long even for my standards, and that is okay because I thought that the satin binding at the sleeve was a bit too much, so I chopped it off to the right length and felted the edges. Okay, so the joke is that by the time I finished these, so 8 days total after I started, the temperature outside was already above 75 degrees, so we'll have to wait till like December to try these out. But I'm super excited too. They are utterly ridiculous, but I think they check the tongue-in-cheek, deconstructed statement piece box swimmingly. If you enjoyed this video, I always appreciate a thumbs up, and hit subscribe if you unironically love ironic clothing. I'm working through a couple more past ensemble redos, so there should be a video up in about a fortnight. And I'm feeling reinvigorated on the collection front, so stay tuned for that as well. Bye!